When love becomes a cage instead of a refuge, it's time to open the door. We grow up believing that love means holding on no matter what. We are told that endurance is proof of affection, that staying is sacred, that leaving is betrayal. But sometimes holding on is not an act of love, it's an act of fear. Fear of loneliness, fear of failure, fear of starting again. Yet love that survives only through fear is not love anymore, it's dependency disguised as devotion. There comes a moment when your heart whispers the truth you've been avoiding. That loving someone doesn't always mean you're meant to keep them. You see, love was never meant to feel like confinement. It was meant to be freedom. Love was meant to inspire you, to lift you higher, to awaken your best version, not to chain you to someone else's expectations or pain. When the relationship becomes a battlefield where your peace is the price of connection, when your laughter fades under the weight of constant doubt, when your soul feels small every time you stay, that's when love has turned into captivity. You can't grow in a place where you must shrink yourself just to be accepted. You can't breathe deeply in a space where your spirit has to hold its breath. We often confuse love with attachment. We mistake possession for connection. But real love is not about owning, it's about honoring. It's not about keeping someone close no matter what. It's about caring enough to let them walk away if that's what helps both of you become whole. Sometimes love's greatest act of compassion is release. It's having the courage to say, I love you, but I refuse to lose myself in the process. Because what good is love if it costs you your peace, your dignity, your identity? What good is love if you can't recognize yourself anymore? The truth is, love asks for effort, yes, but it should never demand your essence. It should not silence your dreams or suffocate your light. You shouldn't have to constantly prove your worth to someone who was meant to see it from the start. Love should make you feel seen, not small, supported, not drained, safe, not scared. And if you've been fighting every day to convince someone to stay, maybe the battle is not with them. It's with your own resistance to letting go. Letting go doesn't mean you stopped loving. It doesn't make you cold, ungrateful, or heartless. It simply means you've chosen truth over illusion. It means you've realized that love without respect is a wound, not a blessing. That love without balance eventually breaks the spirit. That sometimes you have to walk away not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself too. And yes, it hurts. Letting go always hurts. Because love ties itself to memory, to moments, to promises. It lives in the corners of your heart long after the person is gone. You still hear their laughter in your mind, still feel their presence in the quiet. But healing begins the moment you stop trying to return to what broke you. The moment you realize that love that limits your soul is not love. It's fear dressed as familiarity. Love should set you free. Free to evolve, to rise, to breathe fully. Free to become who you are meant to be. Even if it means walking alone for a while. Because the right love doesn't chain you, it cheers for your wings. The right love doesn't trap you, it travels with you, even when paths diverge. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to let someone go with grace, gratitude, and peace, trusting that both your stories are still unfolding exactly as they should. Letting go is not giving up, it's growing up. It's choosing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and faith over fear. And maybe, just maybe, the moment you open that cage and step out, you'll realize you were never meant to be trapped. You were meant to fly, because true love doesn't ask you to stay, it invites you to be free. We often believe that love must hurt to be real, that the depth of our pain measures the depth of our affection. We wear our wounds like medals, as if enduring heartbreak is proof of loyalty. But pain was never meant to be a home, it was meant to be a teacher. It comes to show us where we've lost ourselves, where we've settled for less, where we've confused endurance with purpose. Yet somewhere along the way, we began to glorify suffering. We started calling pain commitment and calling exhaustion love. And so we stay even when everything inside us is begging to leave. Not every pain is sacred. Some pains are simply warnings. There's a kind of pain that cleanses you, and there's a kind of pain that consumes you. The first helps you grow, the second keeps you trapped. We think that by holding on through endless hurt, we are being faithful, but faithfulness does not mean accepting destruction. Faithfulness means honoring the truth even when it breaks your heart. When love starts to cost you your peace, your sleep, your joy, or your sense of worth, it is no longer love. It has become a lesson. You can love someone deeply and still recognize that the relationship is hurting you. You can care for them with all your heart and still admit that it's time to go. Pain teaches us where boundaries should have been. It reveals what we've been ignoring, what we've been justifying, the arguments that never end, the tears that never dry, the apologies that never change. It all becomes a pattern, a cycle of emotional fatigue. But love was never meant to be an endless loop of breaking and fixing, hurting and healing. Love was meant to build, not bruise. We must stop mistaking suffering for devotion. Real love does not demand that you destroy yourself to prove your care. It does not ask you to silence your needs or tolerate disrespect in the name of understanding. Sometimes the person you love the most is also the one who has forgotten how to handle your heart. And staying, hoping they'll change, often turns pain into habit. Before you know it, you're living inside that pain, decorating it, normalizing it, calling it love because you've forgotten what peace feels like. But pain whispers truth if you're willing to listen. It says, you deserve better. It says, this is not how love should feel. It says, you are losing yourself and you need to come home. The hardest part is not realizing that something is wrong. It's accepting that it won't get better while you stay in the same place. Healing cannot happen in the same environment that wounded you. You cannot rebuild your heart with the same hands that keep breaking it. There's a kind of bravery in walking away from pain that once felt like love. It's not betrayal. It's self-respect. You can forgive someone and still release them. You can honor the memories and still choose a future that doesn't repeat them. Because love without growth is stagnation. And love that constantly hurts becomes a form of self-abandonment. You deserve a love that brings peace, not confusion. A love that lifts your spirit, not crushes your energy. When you finally step away, it won't be easy. You'll doubt yourself. You'll question if leaving was right. The heart doesn't detach overnight. It lingers, it remembers. But over time, you begin to see the lesson hidden beneath the pain. You realize that love wasn't supposed to make you suffer endlessly. It was supposed to teach you where to stop giving more than you receive. You'll understand that real love may sometimes require distance, and that letting go of pain is not losing, it's learning. Pain refines you when you allow it to. It shapes your strength, deepens your empathy, and teaches you to set boundaries that honor your soul. You become wiser, softer, but stronger. You learn that love doesn't have to hurt to be real, and that the right kind of love feels like peace, not war. You stop chasing what breaks you and start nurturing what heals you. So if you find yourself in a place where pain has become familiar, remember this. You were not created to live in suffering. You were created to grow through it, to rise from it, and to walk towards something greater. Let pain teach you, but never let it convince you to stay, because love that costs you your peace is too expensive to keep. And when you finally let that pain go, you'll discover that peace was the love you were searching for all along. Closure is one of the most misunderstood parts of love. We are taught to wait for it, to hold our breath until the other person gives us the words we think will make it easier to move on. We imagine some final conversation, some apology or explanation that will stitch the pieces of our heart back together, but life rarely gives us that luxury. People leave without warning, words fade before they heal, and sometimes the silence becomes the only answer we ever get. And in that silence, we must learn that closure is not given. It is created. You see, closure doesn't arrive through someone else's confession. It is born from your decision to stop needing it. It's the moment you stop asking why, Tessa, and start saying enough. It's the day you realize that no matter how much clarity you seek from another person, the only peace that truly lasts comes from within. Waiting for closure keeps you chained to the past, to a version of yourself that no longer exists. You can spend months, even years, replaying what happened, searching for reasons, dissecting every word and moment. But there comes a time when you must stop asking questions that have no healing answers. The truth is, closure is not about understanding their choices. It's about accepting yours. It's about saying, I may never know why it ended the way it did, but I choose to release it anyway. Because sometimes people hurt us not because we were unworthy, but because they were unready, they were lost, afraid, or broken themselves. And if you wait for them to explain, you might end up waiting forever. Closure is an act of self-respect. It's standing before the ashes of what once was and saying, I will no longer set myself on fire trying to relive this flame. Creating your own closure means taking responsibility for your healing. It means forgiving without receiving an apology, letting go without getting the full story, and finding peace without validation. Forgiveness doesn't mean what they did was right. It means you refuse to let it keep you prisoner. It means you choose to free your heart from the constant replay of pain. You stop living in the chapter that has already ended, and you start writing the next one, even if your hands are still trembling. It's easy to believe that closure comes with time, but time alone doesn't heal. It's what you do with that time that matters. Healing happens happens when you face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is, when you admit that they might never come back, that the apology may never arrive, and that the story might remain incomplete, but incomplete stories can still have peaceful endings if you write them yourself. You rewrite the ending by choosing to stop waiting, by learning to be your own comfort, your own closure, your own home. Sometimes closure comes in the quiet moments, when you stop checking your phone for their message, when you stop replaying their last words, when you start sleeping again without their memory weighing on your chest. Sometimes it's as simple as breathing deeply and realizing that you survived something you once thought you couldn't. That's closure. The kind that doesn't come from them, but from you finding your strength again. And yes, it's not easy. There will be days when the longing returns, when nostalgia feels like a flood. You'll want to reach out to seek one last conversation, to understand just a little more. But that's your heart trying to rewrite the past. You have to gently remind yourself that peace is not found in explanations. It's found in acceptance. You can't change what has already happened, but you can change how you carry it. You can choose to remember with gratitude instead of bitterness. You can honor what was beautiful without reopening the wounds. True closure happens when you no longer need their approval for your healing, when their silence no longer controls your peace. It's the moment you can wish them well without wishing they'd stayed. The moment you realize that moving on isn't about forgetting, it's about forgiving yourself for holding on too long. It's about releasing the weight of what you couldn't fix and embracing the freedom of what's ahead. Because life doesn't stop when someone leaves. It keeps unfolding, inviting you to step into your next chapter. You are not defined by what ended. You are defined by how you rise from it. You are not broken because someone walked away. You are being rebuilt into someone wiser, softer, and stronger. And one day you'll look back and realize that closure was never something they could give you. It was something you had the power to create all along. And when you finally choose to close that door, peace will quietly walk in and stay. To let someone go is one of the hardest forms of love. It feels like tearing out a piece of your soul, like walking away from a part of yourself you once believed would last forever. We hold on because we think love means staying, because we fear what will happen if we finally loosen our grip. But letting go is not weakness. It is a holy act of faith. It's trusting that even though your heart aches now, the universe, God, or life itself still has a purpose for your pain. It's believing that endings aren't punishments. They're preparations for something greater. Letting go is sacred because it demands surrender. It asks you to release control, to stop trying to rewrite what was never meant to be rewritten. It's standing at the edge of everything familiar and choosing to step into the unknown with trembling courage. You don't need all the answers to let go. You just need enough faith to believe that your future will make sense of your heartbreak. There is divine wisdom in what you lose just as much as in what you gain. Sometimes God removes people not to harm you, but to heal you. Sometimes rejection is not rejection at all. It's redirection. The human heart struggles with that truth because it wants certainty. We want love to be permanent, promises to last, people to stay. But love, in its purest form, is not about possession. It's about freedom. When you truly love someone, you must also accept the risk of losing them. And when that time comes, love asks you to release them with grace, not resentment. To say, I love you enough to let you go even if it hurts. Because love that tries to cage another soul becomes control. And love that fears loss stops being love. It becomes attachment. Letting go is faith in motion. It's trusting that the same hands that gave you love will also catch you when you fall. It's trusting that your story is still being written, even if this chapter has closed. Sometimes the person you thought you couldn't live without was never meant to stay for a lifetime. They were meant to teach you something that only their presence and their absence could reveal. Maybe they came to awaken a part of you that was sleeping. Maybe they came to show you what you deserve. Maybe their leaving was the only way for you to finally return to yourself. It's easy to think that letting go means forgetting, but that's not true. You don't forget someone who changed you. You simply learn to remember without pain. You learn to look back and thank them, even through the tears. Gratitude becomes your bridge from grief to peace. Because when you hold on too tightly to what's gone, you close your hands to what's coming. Letting go is how you make room for new beginnings, for new light or new love. Faith doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you keep moving even when your heart is still breaking. You still cry, you still remember, you still ache. But you trust that all of it is working for your growth. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start whispering, what is this trying to teach me? Because every ending carries a seed of transformation. The pain you feel today is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to shape you into someone capable of deeper, truer love. Letting go is also forgiveness in its highest form. Forgiving the person who left. Forgiving yourself for holding on too long. Forgiving life for not turning out the way you imagine. When you forgive, you cut the invisible chains that keep your heart anchored to the past. You give yourself permission to breathe again, to dream again, to love again. The wound may remain, but it will no longer define you. And then one day, almost quietly, you will feel the shift. The heaviness will lift. The memories will stop hurting. The love that once felt like loss will begin to feel like light. You'll see that letting go didn't destroy you. It freed you. It allowed you to meet yourself again. It taught you that love is not just about holding on to others, but about holding on to your faith, your hope, your peace. So if you find yourself standing at that painful crossroads, torn between holding on and setting free, remember this. Letting go is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your rebirth. The universe always fills the empty spaces left behind by what we release. Trust that what's meant for you will never require you to beg, chase, or suffer endlessly for it. Because when you finally let go with faith, love doesn't disappear. It transforms and it leads you home.